Thank you for your patience. Greetings, friends. I'm Craig Sandler, president of the Lexington Historical Society, and on behalf of the Society and our community partners, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this reenactment of Lafayette's 1824 visit to Lexington exactly 200 years ago today. After the reenactment, C'est bon. After the reenactment, if you'd like to learn more about this visit or the visit of General Washington to Lexington, we have an exhibit at Monroe Tavern down Mass Ave called The President and Le Général, and that's free if you tour that tavern. Or across the street at Buckman Tavern right now, we have an exhibit called Parades, Pageants, and Pandemonium, which also you can tour if you visit Buckman. And more information on our historic houses and events like this is always available at lexingtonhistory.org. Now, a word about our hero and why he was such a big deal and why there was such commotion on this screen and across America as he toured the country 200 years ago. As you watch the pageantry, I urge you to do more than that, to reflect on what could have generated that much adulation. And the fact is, the truth of it is that Lafayette was more than just a great general. He was a great human being. It's actually difficult to describe just how wonderful he was. He was the kind of person who at 19 as a Frenchman volunteered for the American cause and bought a ship to come here to serve. He almost immediately took a bullet for the American cause. He almost immediately befriended General Washington, who did not warm up to people that quickly. There were plenty of French noblemen who came here seeking glory during that war, and he was seeking glory to some extent too, but not all those noblemen wintered at Valley Forge, stayed there with the troops, suffered along with them, and spent their own money to try to help them get through that winter. Lafayette did. He returned to France and continued the fight for freedom and liberty and the rights of humankind. He wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. He went to prison in the French Revolution basically because he chose the path of moderation and got punished for it. He and his beloved wife, Adrienne, bought a slave plantation so they could free the enslaved people and teach them to read. And that whole time he was known for optimism, for good cheer, for style, and for basically a fundamental faith in the value of the human race. And I should add, he absolutely loved every minute of attention and adulation he received, and he made no secret of it. That's one of the best reasons to see you here today, to celebrate. He would be thrilled that we're doing this. So, he came here 200 years ago to cheer us on and cheer us up and get cheered in return, and that's what we're here to do. And so with that, I give you the Lafayette of this reenactment, the visionary who did the hard work to put all the pieces together, Marcia Baker.
I'm the chair of Lafayette Returns, this reenactment of Lafayette's 1824 visit to Lexington. My sidekick here is Paul O'Shaughnessy. Today, he will take on the role of Major Elias Finney, who was chosen to give the welcoming speech to Lafayette on behalf of the town. The text of the original speech will be heard again today. Joining us today as our special guests are members of the American Friends of Lafayette. Wave, guys. Okay. Members of the Lexington Select Board. Massachusetts State Representative Michelle Socolo, members of the Board of Directors of the Lexington Historical Society, as well as representatives of some of our community partners. I hope Matthew Siegel of LexArt is here. Matthew had the idea for LexArt's Woodworkers Guild to create this gorgeous chair for Lafayette. I also don't know if David Pincino of the Department of Public Works made it today, but his crew were here out early, setting the scene. The amazing Jesse Siegewald of LexSeher, who spearheaded the creation of the incredible reproduction of the 1824 Welcome Banner. When you see it, you will understand how grateful we are. And the enthusiastic members of LexSeher who always love dressing up. When we were doing our initial research into Lafayette's visit to Lexington, we came across a story of a woman who said she was too young at the time of Lafayette's visit to attend, but that her father brought her a sugar image of Lafayette. So we thank the fantastic staff at the Inn of Hastings Park and Patricia Perez Keneally for the sugar images of Lafayette that some of you might be now munching on. We only ask that you refrain from crinkling the wrappers during the actual reenactment. Several of our community partners were unable to be here today. The full list is in your program, as well as those who have lent their time, talent, and treasure to make this reenactment a reality. We thank them, and we hope you will too. Before we begin the actual reenactment, I'd like to introduce to you Alan Hoffman, the president of the American Friends of Lafayette, for some brief remarks.
Thank you, Marcia. And you notice that she said the word brief, and I think she emphasized it. That's because she knows my reputation, that once I get to talk about Lafayette, sometimes it's hard to stop me. But anyhow, I am thrilled to be here as the organ of the American Friends of Lafayette. That's what they used to say. I think they mean the musical instrument when they said that in 1824, and the Massachusetts Lafayette Society. What a partner the Lexington Historical Society has been, and what a glorious, glorious day this is. I want to just tell you a very few words about the American Friends of Lafayette. It was founded in 1932 at Lafayette College, so we're over 90 years old. And our goal is to educate the public about the life and career of General Lafayette, because we think he is one of the most important human beings who ever graced this earth. Let's give him a hand. So therefore, these events that we've been participating in are an important part of our educational mission. And I congratulate Lexington for the job it's done today, and I hope to see you again on many other occasions. Vive Lafayette.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Michelle Socolo.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled to see you all today on this gorgeous day. What a terrific day for our first ever reenactment of Lafayette's visit. It's a joy to be with you all. I want to just thank Marcia Baker for all her efforts in organizing this event. She has been absolutely terrific. Woo-hoo. And a thanks to Craig Sandler, the president of the Lexington Historical Society, and Director Ann Lee, and all the board members who have contributed so greatly to this terrific event. Woo-hoo. Gilbert de Motier, Marquis de Lafayette, General Lafayette, a man of many names. 200 years ago, on this 50th anniversary of the start of the American Revolution. Today, we're celebrating a reunion of sorts. 50 years when all the fighting was over, when General Lafayette came back to the newly formed United States to celebrate with former friends and allies. And here I want to take a moment of personal privilege to mention a few special guests of mine who are here in the audience, also helping celebrate bonds who have survived more than 50 years across the Atlantic. Karen and Lucas Gagnou, very special friends from Switzerland, who lived here in Lexington 51 years ago for a year when I was a child on Carroll Lane. Also here today are my wonderful parents, Ray and Grace, my husband, Philip Jackson, and my two sons, Dylan Jackson, here from Colorado, and Foster Jackson. You guys are the best. So why was Lafayette an American hero? He came from the French aristocracy, but was so compelled by the ideals of freedom and self-determination that he wanted to fight for the cause. He was just 19 when he volunteered to serve in George Washington's army. But let's face it, he probably also came for a little adventure and to reinvent himself as having more to offer the world, different from his privileged upbringing. He forged an alliance with France and helped bring the French to our cause by sheer force of will. He came against the wishes of King Louis at the time, which is also very interesting. Lafayette was ultimately permitted to command the Continental Army troops in the decisive siege of Yorktown in 1781. This was the Revolutionary War's final major battle that secured American independence. And when he returned to France in 1779, there he went on to be a key figure in the French Revolution. Lafayette was nicknamed the Hero of Two Worlds. He was buried in France in dirt taken from Bunker Hill here in Massachusetts in accordance with his request to be buried on both American and French soil. Before I close, I want to reflect on some of the other reasons we celebrate Lafayette's return to America and why he was wildly hailed as an iconic American hero. The cultural exchange, which Lafayette forged bonds, brought new ideas, developed close friendships, and helped cultivate the ideals of community. He intrinsically knew the value of freedom, but more importantly, the need to always fight for it and for a more perfect union. 250 years later, the U.S. is still far from a perfect society, but we understand, and especially here in Lexington, the birthplace of that union where the first battle broke out, we know our duty and we cherish that vision. We forge forward always to build a more perfect community where everyone is welcome and all are free. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And finally, but not least, Doug Lucenti, Chair of the Lexington Select Board.
Thank you, Marcia. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my profound honor on behalf of my Select Board colleagues here today, Joe Pato, Susie Barry, and Jill Hay, and the entire town of Lexington to welcome you to this momentous occasion. We gather on this historic ground, united by our shared history and values, to connect with the pivotal moment of our past. 200 years ago, right here in this very place, the people of Lexington eagerly awaited the arrival of General Lafayette, a figure synonymous with liberty and heroism. Lafayette, who had stood by Washington's side and crossed oceans to champion a cause he deeply believed in, was returning to the nation he helped shape. For the residents of Lexington, welcoming him was more than just an honor. It was a profound connection to their history, bridging a link between 1775 and 1824. Please imagine the scene. The descendants of those who had witnessed the first shots of the American Revolution gathered here, filled with excitement and pride. Lafayette's return must have felt like welcoming home part of their legacy, a living reminder of resilience and sacrifice that defined their community. We continue to honor that moment in our town's history, not only through gatherings like today, but also through the Lafayette Trail Marker that proudly stands at Belfry Hill Park, which was unveiled on September 11th, 2022, and it serves as a lasting symbol of our respect for Lafayette's contributions to our deep connection to the ideals he championed. We also stand on the brink of another significant milestone. In just a few months, 229 days to be exact, on April 19th, 2025, we will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington. This pivotal event not only marked the start of the American Revolution, but also started a global wave of democratic movements. This anniversary is more than a celebration of the past. It's a moment to reflect on the enduring principles of freedom, justice, and unity that continue to guide us today. Lafayette's legacy also reminds us of the enduring bonds between nations united by shared ideals. Our continued relationship with our sister city, Antony, France, stands as a testament to the lasting connections forged through common struggles and mutual respect. I'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to those who have brought this event to life. The Lexington Historical Society, through its meticulous research and dedication, has once again made our rich history accessible and meaningful. A special thanks to Marcia Baker, whose vision and hard work over the past 3.5 years have made this commemoration possible. Marcia, your passion for our town's history is a gift to us all, and we are deeply grateful. As we prepare to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington, let us continue to carry forward the same sense of honor and responsibility that the people of 1824 felt when they welcomed Lafayette. Let us continue to build a future worthy of the sacrifices that were made on this ground. Thank you all for being part of this day. May it inspire us all to not only remember, but actively carry forward the legacy of Lafayette. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Now, let's set the stage. 200 years ago, September 2nd, 1824. Lexingtonians gathered here on their sacred ground to welcome the Marquis de Lafayette, the last surviving general of the Revolutionary War, had been invited by President Monroe to return to America as the nation's guest. Throughout 1824 and 1824, Lafayette visited all 24 states then in the Union. I'll stop for just a second to say that we have the state flags around here of those 24 states. When General Washington visited Lexington in 1789, he wrote in his journal that he did so because he wanted to view the spot on which the first blood was spilt in the dispute with Great Britain. Lafayette was at Yorktown when the war ended. He also wanted to see where it had begun. This is what actually happened here on September 2nd, 1824. The battle green was surrounded by flags. The belfry rang, and the Lexington artillery offered their salute. The townspeople cheered, and enthusiastically they waved their handkerchiefs and homemade sounds.
And each of these towns are trying to outdo the others. Are you going to be outdone? Let's hear you cheer. Cheer! Handkerchiefs. Excellent. Monsieur le Général, puis-je présenter les citoyens de Lexington?
Back to setting the scene. The women of the town had even made a 39-foot linen banner that welcomed and said, "Welcome, friend of America, to the birthplace of American liberty." Lafayette and his entourage walked beneath a triumphal arch that was decorated with evergreens and flowers. Here to the Revolutionary War Monument, around which 14 aging survivors of the battle were seated. Then Elias Finney stepped forward to welcome Lafayette on behalf of the people of Lexington. This was followed by Lafayette's heartfelt response. Then 3 of the battle veterans rose with great emotion to relay the story of April 19, 1775. A group of Lexington students came forward. The girls were dressed in white, the boys in their Sunday best. They paused in front of the marquee to strew their flowers at his feet. As the ceremony was about to conclude, a young man came forward, clutching an old musket. Well, we could go on, but you need to see this all for yourself. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
You're good. Thank you, dear. See you best.
There's a cord.
On behalf of the Committee of Arrangements and the inhabitants of Lexington, General, allow me, sir, to tender you the assurances of our most respectful and cordial welcome to our town. Impressed with a sense of the important services you have rendered to the country, they meet you on this occasion and upon this memorable spot with hearts swelling with every emotion, with your generous love for your exalted character and a grateful remembrance of the distinguished luster of your deeds can inspire. On this hallowed ground, consecrated by the blood of the first martyrs of liberty, was kindled that flame which roused the nation to arms and conducted them through peril and blood to a glorious independence. Here, a small band of patriots hurled the first signal of defiance to a host in arms and taught the enemies of the country that appalling truth, that Americans dare to die in defense of their rights. The hardy and virtuous yeomanry of our country offer you the sincere tribute of their warmest affections. Among them, your presence has awakened emotions too powerful for utterance. With the name of Lafayette is associated every comfort which sweetens the fruit of their toil, every charm that crowns the altar of domestic happiness. Under the shadow of that glorious fabric which your hand assisted in rearing, they repose in peace and security. Permit us, sir, in concert with grateful millions, to express our earnest solicitations that a life which has for so many years has been steadily devoted to the frowns of arbitrary power may be preserved for many years to come, a blessing and an honor to mankind. And when, sir, your brave associates in the War of Revolution have ceased from your earthly labors, instead of the fathers, may their children rise up to bless your memory and emulate your virtues. Monsieur.
Monsieur, merci à vous tous. Merci. It is with great joy and happiness that I receive the welcome of the town of Lexington. And from you, monsieur, who spoke in a manner as honorable as it was kind. Je vous remercie. You spoke, monsieur, of the role I played, however small, in the American Revolution, which secured the independence of the Republic, which has preserved the peace, prosperity, and happiness which everywhere surrounds us, and which we all enjoy today. But in truth, monsieur, the credit is surely due to those members of the militia who fought upon that fateful day of April 1775, and to my brothers in arms in the Continental American Army, who fought, and the many of them who perished in the service of our great and noble cause. It brings me great joy to come to scenes of events so memorable as that occurred on this very spot. For it was here that was fired the first shot that would become the signal for American and universal freedom. Monsieur, I ask that you accept, and all of you who press around us with such warmth and enthusiasm, to accept the most sincere expressions of my gratitude, affection, and respect. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Monsieur.
Merci à vous tous. Merci. Merci à Lexington.
Merci, monsieur.
Merci, monsieur.
Monsieur le Général, may I present to you a veteran of the fight, William Monroe, Jr., who will read the inscription on this monument. Sir.
Sir. This monument is sacred to liberty and the rights of mankind. the freedom of the independence of America. It was erected in the year of 1799 by the inhabitants of Lexington, under the patronage and of the expense of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. To the memory of their fellow citizens, Ensign Robert Monroe, Monsignors Jonas Parker, Samuel Hadley, Jonathan Harrington Jr., Isaac Muzzy, Caleb Harrington, and John Brown of Lexington, and Ashell Porter of Woburn, who fell on this field the first victims to the sword of British tyranny and oppression. On the morning of the ever-memorable 19th of April, Anno Domini 1775, the die was cast. The blood of these martyrs in the cause of their country was the cement of the union of these states, then colonies, and gave spring to the spirit, firmness, and resolution of their fellow citizens. They rose as one man to revenge their brethren's blood, and at the point of the sword to assert and defend their native rights. They nobly dared to be free. The contest was long, bloody, and affecting. Righteous heaven approved the solemn appeal. Victory crowned their arms. And the peace, liberty, and independence of the United States of America was their glorious reward.
Monsieur le Général, may I introduce you now to two esteemed veterans, Ebenezer Simons and Isaac Hastings, who will give you an account.
Guest, General Lafayette, Isaac and I are but two of the 14 men who were here on this ground on that sacred morning of April 19th, 1775. We stood in the ranks with Captain Parker's company, and we watched as hundreds of His Majesty's troops marched up the road and then came furiously onto the common, standing all of a rod or two away from us, acting more as a mob, not as soldiers. One of their officers rode out in front, and he demanded that we lay down our arms, which we did not oblige. He also insulted us as rebels and dogs. Then another one of their officers fired off a pistol, and all of the soldiers began shooting and chasing us off this ground until not one of us was still here, and 8 lay dead. I assure you, General Lafayette, not one man of our company fired before they began.
The soldiers began to break into our homes. The officers hurried them back into ranks, where they gave free cheers to celebrate their so-called victory. They then marched off toward Concord, leaving 7 of our company dead or dying and pouring out their life's blood on this very ground. We still weep for our brothers, but we do not pity them. They died for the country and for liberty.
You men served and fought and bled during the first battle of the War of Independence that would secure freedom for this nation. I salute you.
Monsieur le Général, may I at this time introduce to you the 14 surviving members of the Lexington Militia from April of 1775. You have just met here. Ebenezer Simons, Isaac Hastings, and William Monroe, Jr. And Isaac Blodgett, Jonathan Harrington III, Moses Harrington III, Samuel Hastings, Jr., John Monroe, Jr., Nathan Monroe, William Monroe, William Reed III, Joseph Robinson, and this way, monsieur. May I introduce Monsieur Joseph Underwood?
Monsieur Underwood, très enchanté.
Simon Snow,
Monsieur Snow, merci de votre service.
and Joseph Underwood.
Monsieur Underwood, merci.
Thank you very much.
Merci à vous tous. Je vous salue. Au nom de la liberté. Je vous
To the
salue.
veterans and to the general, cheers!
Merci les enfants de la ville de Lexington. Thank you to the children, to the young people of Lexington.
Do I see a young man coming through the crowd?
General, my father carried this on April 19th, 1775. It was in his hands that the work that both you and Washington so gloriously finished began. I'm very glad that it makes your acquaintance.
And I am very glad to have made the acquaintance of your family's treasured Yalek, my young friend. Inscribe upon it, if you would, the date of April the 19th, 1775, as well as the name of the patriot who made such beautiful use of it on that day, and preserve it in a box that it may be protected from the ravages of time. Merci, monsieur.
I will do as you say, General.
Allow me to express one additional time my warmest gratitude for being so affectionately received here in Lexington. To have stayed here and greeted you on this hallowed ground, to have met the remnants of that band who fought and bled upon this very field. It is a great honor that you have given me, and I wish that all of you would accept my most profound sentiments of gratitude and affection. Je vous remercie tous et toutes. Merci beaucoup.
One more cheer for the Marquis de Lafayette.
Merci le Major Fini. Merci mes amis. Merci à vous tous. Vive la liberté, vive l'indépendance. Merci à vous tous.
Monsieur, thank you very much for your honor, for the honor of your visit here to Lexington today.
Thank you equally as much for the honor that you have given me in such a warm and affectionate welcome.
Shall we, monsieur?